listening to the news.
Well,
I had no excuse of being late today, that's for sure.
Morning, Mike. Morning, Ricky. Morning. Yeah, Ricky. Yep, he slept in again. Yes. I was sitting here waiting for him, and
I didn't sleep in.
He woke up early and then missed us.
Yeah, I was up. Well, I was up at actually 4:45 basically, and got up a few minutes before 5 to stay up, and just puttered around the house and read and did a few things and lost track of time again. So I didn't sleep in. I am just not very good with time. I'm gonna have to start. I was just doing some laundry, and I thought to myself, "Hey, wait a minute, what time is it?"
You need a secretary.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I'll.
I mean, with your busy schedule, you were on air yesterday at Paul's show. I watched some of that later on last night. So
we were good, weren't we?
Sweater. I mean, a bad sweater contest. 180 grand for a bad sweater contest. Not a chance in hell. They should be passing that one today, right?
Do you remember that Bridget Jones's Diary? That movie, Bridget Jones's Diary.
I never watched it, but I do know the title. Yes.
Well, Colin Firth. It's basically based on one of Jane Austen's books. Basically, it's just kind of a modern adaptation of one of Jane Austen's books.
I was aware of that.
I spotted that right away, and it was, and my ex was really angry at me because I saw it when she didn't. She was a big fan of Jane Austen's. But that is.
I knew that before. I knew that. Yeah, I knew that with the film anyway. I just wasn't my cup of tea, you know.
She's kind of good movies, excellent actually. If you ask me, good romantic comic kind of thing. Anyway, so in the movie, Colin Firth he comes home for a Christmas thing, and he's wearing this really dumb, ugly Christmas sweater.
Yeah.
And of course, it just bothers him to no end, but he has to put it on to please his mother because his mother had knitted it for him some time ago.
It's such a British.
So he had to stand there. Like it was more important for him to please his mother than to look dignified, but it really annoyed him. And I think at any time I think of the ugly sweater contest, I wonder if they got the idea off of that.
Yeah. Well, it's such a British thing, you know, to have these ugly sweater contests, particularly the ugly Christmas sweater, you know?
Yes. Well, it's going to happen in December 5th when you're going to be using sweaters. When I first read it, I thought, is he going to try to have that happen in the summertime? No. He the guy that's pushing for it.
But you see, here's the thing. So, why is he asking for 180 grand? This sounds like a $10,000 event.
I don't know. He's going to have to make his business case, and that's where Paul and I were on it when we were doing the review, because he's trying to draw tourists in December 5th. He thinks this will be a draw because it's going to be the Guinness Book World Records, and he figures he'll be a lot of draw, but he'll need a bunch of upfront money that he hopes to get from the MAT, the municipal accommodation tax.
No.
That's the tax they charge you for coming into town.
I know what the MAT is for. I just don't think that's a proper purpose of it.
Well, he's going to make his case, and I can't speak to it because I don't know what I could see them. Anything that will bring tourist money into town during a time where it's low amount of tourists, you know, on the off season might be a thing. Whether or not it will be able to be an annual thing, maybe, but a one-time event may bring in a lot of coin, but he's asking a lot of coin to start.
He's asking too much money.
Yes.
I'd say a $10,000, you know, if he's wanting a free day at the convention center, that's fine. But then
I don't know. I don't know. But he'll have to make his business case. He's got all the numbers, what seems to be a numbers, and what's his name? Matt something. I forget his last name, but anyway,
well,
Paul.
I'll take you back to what I was talking about. I think yesterday or the day before, a while back, about how we used to go to the park and have sweaters for the goalposts.
Yeah.
Well,
that's pretty standard.
This gives us sweaters for the whole width of the pitch, doesn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, you could
mark
out the whole soccer field with sweaters.
Yeah, that'll work. And leave a gap where the goals are.
Now this, so this whole thing. Now, are people going to try to just find sweaters that are already out there that happen to be ugly, or are they going to make the ugly sweater? I don't know what kind of judgment happens here. It's a Guinness World Book of Records thing. So I think that may give it enough credibility. But I'm very interested to know what the business plan is, what his strategy is going to be, and if they've done any sort of thinking about how many people will come into town and spend money in early December. So that would be, I think.
I'd also say that putting it to the council, a significant amount of planning must have already occurred to be putting it to the council now 6 months in advance. Is there enough time to really build this event?
Well, he's got all the numbers. If you go onto the city council review of the agenda there, you'll see that he's got everything broken down, all the numbers, everything, what he's going to need, what kind of expenditures. So he's done a feasibility study, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Whether feasibility studies will hold water. Now, this is up to the council.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be a little bit too conservative for him. Basically, he's got a dynamic idea. I'm not so sure the council is that adventurous, particularly with
the reason, of course, he's saying that we should use MAT money is that it is used for tourist advertising. Mike here says it should be used for infrastructure, police, firefighters, and that are used for tourism. Right. I know, Ricky, that my $10,000 comment is not a lot of money, but but 180,000 is, I think, a bit too much for us to be spending right now.
Well, a lot of it goes to marketing too. A lot of the MAT tax goes to marketing, and I think a lot of it goes to the like the lights on the falls and other little sort of enticements for tourists or things to please tourists.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. This, however, is like this guy is outside the box for sure. And if he's got a good business plan, and he will bring in a lot of money and people and interest, there's just one more thing that brings interest to the Niagara Falls. So what you want to do, you want to have interest in Niagara Falls. You want to have people have that on top of mind.
Yeah. I want to hear the presentation, but my thinking is generally no. A bit more conservative on spending the dosh out right now.
Yeah, I have nothing but wonderfully good, tasteful sweaters because that's the kind of guy I am.
Well, I've got one that would probably qualify, but I couldn't put it on because it's me. It's me in like 1976. Right.
Yeah.
Way too small for me. I was a bit late.
Yeah, you might have a winner right there in your closet and you can't put it to use. You're going to have to hire a model.
All right. Okay. So here we go. St. Catharines reopens Sunset Beach, having done about $6 million worth of upgrades on this, and it's mainly to things like the parking, etc. That this money has been spent on. You know, parking, landscaping, making the whole beach a lot safer, a lot more community.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy when I heard this, when I read it, only for the fact that it's a public beach.
Yeah.
And, you know, public means cheap for the average family to go there and have some fun. And when you got a bunch of kids, they don't need much to have fun. Water and a beach where they play, that'll keep them busy all day long, in and out of water, getting good exercise. The family has an outing. Anything like that is a positive, particularly right in the city, which is very close, you know.
I'm going to ask a question about that. It's like you put the kids, and I had a vision of what it was when I went to the local beach when I was a kid. We took the bus there. Hey, Matt. Hey, Niagara Regional Transit. Is there going to be buses to the beach?
I don't know. It probably is on a bus route close enough to a bus route. You know, I don't know. I don't know St. Catharines.
Yep, you know? Neither do I. Not in terms of bus routes, anyway. No.
No, yeah, that's what I meant too. Like as far as buses, no, I have no idea.
No, as far as the bus routes go, but I'm asking the question because I know there are people out there, particularly kids during the summertime. What if they're going to go to the beach? The bus is probably the best way to get there.
Look, kids can walk a long way. So if you can get a bus, pretty close, and then they can walk the rest of the way. I remember talking to a friend of mine's mother who would be about 100 today if she was still alive. She just passed away a couple of years ago. She told me she was from Niagara Falls, New York. Her and her little kid friends would walk across the lower bridge all the way up to the Sienna Pool when they were little, just to play in the pool up there because they didn't have them close to them in Niagara Falls, New York at the time. So they went all the way from Niagara Falls, New York. They would walk a couple little tykes. So you can imagine any kid could
at least a couple of miles
get to the beach from a bus stop for sure.
Yeah, at least a couple of miles to the border and a couple of miles from the border. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're just a couple of tykes, you know.
You probably.
So I think probably if you can get a bus stop fairly close, they can go. But if you're sending kids down there without parental control, what do you need? You need lifesavers, basically. You need lifeguards and that kind of thing. So you're going to have all of that in place as well. It has to be a very safe beach.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So moving on. Oh, we got 3 comments on this one. Okay, so top of the morning, squirrels were after Betty's garden. Yep. Okay. All right. Dave, you don't have service to do your house work. Trump does.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Well,
we weren't even mentioning that guy.
Yeah, he hadn't been. But all I know is
how much parking? How much parking? Mike makes a point. It's 185 cars, and there's a boat ramp.
Yeah. As far as Rick goes, everyone knows. I challenged him and his goons, me against them in a steel cage match, winner take all, and the guy turned me down. All I heard is some mumbling about bone spurs, and that was that. So.
And Ricky loves that one. Right. Okay. So one thing I put up for yesterday, Durham Regional Police problems. We thought NRP was bad, but basically the officers, some of the officers who were involved in the kind of whistleblower program that led to complaints for the Ontario Civilian Police Commission launching an investigation, and the Inspectorate of Police being involved. basically saying there were 33 recommendations that they put out in 2023, and Police Chief Mariera and Alex Mayor Sean Collier, who chairs the police board, have basically been saying, oh, these recommendations have all been seen to. When this one of the whistleblowers is saying, no way, that hasn't happened, right? Is there a warning signal here for us?
Well, they say that the cop says, oh, well, we have implemented 99% of the recommended changes and approaches, but somebody on the inside who's keeping a closer look said 19% haven't been adapted.
Yeah.
So I know, I'm sure some police chief, oh, I thought you said 99, not 19. Well, 19% sounds a little bit more like it, particularly when you hear about the leaked information coming out. So there were recommendations for the police department to up its game. It seems to me that they've had a pretty cavalier approach to it. They're putting on the pretend thing. Oh yeah, we're doing it, but we're not doing it. This is part of the culture of the police. I'm afraid this is the kind of thing that happens, yeah, we're doing it, but don't do it. So there's a lot of money wasted if they don't employ some of the things that they have been asked to do. And it was a retired Durham Regional Police officer that's really kicking it up right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing because he's concerned for the police department that he used to work for. He's concerned about the public, and so he should be. And that's presumably why he became a whistleblower in the first place.
Well, he's retired. So the first guy they mentioned is a retired officer. So, that helps. Yeah, that helps because he can't be hurt now. And it's just like any government official here or in the United States, congressman or parliamentarian here, you find that their lips are a lot looser once they leave Parliament or Congress or whatever. They don't have to worry about getting reelected, and they don't have to worry about, they'll come out and say what they need to say.
Yeah.
Bruce Townley is one of the initial whistleblowers whose complaints led to the Ontario Civilian Police Commission, which is the OCPC, launching an investigation into the Durham Regional Police. Basically, they're asking for more transparency. There's been a watchdog analysis of the police, but that hasn't really come out. Anyway, the recommendations have not been employed, and yet the public is made to think that they are. And that's the big problem here.
Yeah, but Inspector General of Policing, Ryan Cheshner, said, who leads the IOP, says he sees merit in basically Durham Regional Police waiting for the IOP progress report to be made, and that hasn't been made yet. So
so there's countering. There's
jumping the gun.
Yeah, but there is communication problems here. They say, well, he's jumping the gun, but you can read between the lines that it's being bogged down in bureaucratic hubbub, and the transparency isn't really there. Like I says, we need full transparency and accountability on these things, and to mislead the public is concerning. So the trouble here is they believe that now here's typical. It says in November, Collier said the OCPC report does nothing because we had already done, I think, 90%, 99% of these things, whereas the contradiction is they've done only 19%.
Yeah. Yeah, and as a member of the public and a potential, anybody who could be going through Durham region, who hears about this, they should be concerned about it, right? And in fact, we should be. It's something that kind of, I think, we mirror in kind of other police forces as well. When you hear about one police force having problems, you automatically assume other police forces are suffering the same issue, don't you?
Yeah, we found often enough that the police forces and even fire departments that have a certain culture, a certain guarded culture, they have their own sort of omerta, don't tell anyone anything, you're in trouble if you do. What happens in the police station stays in the police station. Basically, if one of your guys got out of hand and beat up a suspect in the back room, you know what I mean? Nobody saw it, nobody heard it, those kind of things. So there's a culture, there's a kind of a culture that has to be challenged here. And no amount of recommendations is going to change the culture of that.
Exactly.
If you've got, like, in the old days, back in the States, back in the old days, I see in the 50s, and you had a bunch of Southern police officers, and somebody comes in and says, you got to treat the black people as well as you treat the white people. You can't be beating up blacks or whites. I see you get away with a lot of that in the black populations. You got to stop it. But the culture of the police station will just say, yeah, sure, and just carry on doing what they wanted to do.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the type of complacency that we get with bodies like this, and it's problematic. I raise this because we have our local problems, but our local problems seem small compared to these.
Well, we haven't. I don't know if we've ever done a deep dive into our own.
We haven't. No, nobody has done a deep dive, but there's stories out there about the Niagara Regional Police.
Sure, there are, and you notice the Niagara Regional Police are one of the ones that don't want to wear the cams.
Yes, exactly. They're one of the few that don't want to wear the cams. And at the moment, with the current era about needing to save money, that's assisting them in their not wearing the cams, right?
Oh, sure. Because they can put the pressure on. Their budget is outrageous as it is. Well, it's seemingly outrageous. I mean, I don't know how much of it is actually needed and where they could cut back. I did see a police car that was much smaller than those big SUVs. I saw that a regional cop car that was a reasonable size the other day, and I thought to myself, well, that's the first one I've seen. Somebody must be thinking, for some functions of police, they don't need the huge SUVs.
Well, if you're a community cop dealing with largely community-based issues, you're visiting, you're visiting businesses on Lundy's Lane and calls in the local area there. You don't need to be turning up in a 5-liter cop car. You need to be turning up in you don't need a 5-liter SUV. You just need a normal standard, local car that can get you around town.
Well, look, if it's not in walking distance, they can take an Uber. That's what I say.
Yeah, go for that one. Go for that. But you see the increase in the price of the police budget with that?
Yeah.
They can take a hike. Go. That's what Shanks's pony was there for, Mr. Police Officer.
Yeah. All right. What else we got?
Okay. Hang on a minute.
We covered beaches. We covered cops.
Yeah.
There's Betty here. What does she say?
She said, the stories I could tell but won't about men in blue. Yeah. Yep. And the problem here is, Betty, those stories are everywhere, aren't they? We know that. These stories are everywhere. I see people every day on Main Street from drugs, and no one's doing anything. And that's another problem there, Mike. You're absolutely right. All right. Because of the closure of the safe drug centers, we seem to have had now an explosion back on the streets. of this stuff, right?
Well, in the meeting tonight, if you have a chance to watch the meeting tonight, they will be discussing Ken Todd's report on the unhoused.
Yeah,
that's due tonight in the meeting. I read parts of it, getting prepared for yesterday's show with Paul.
Yeah,
there are some really good things in there, but the thing that I saw there is there's nothing new. There's no new recommendations there. What he's done, Ken Todd, is just kind of brought it all into one place, basically, all the things that we are faced with and all the things that are possibly going to happen. As I've mentioned that before, there's been a general dislike for the unhoused. They are the wastrels and offscourings of society, and that's going to continue. And he does mention things like that.
I was
used the unhoused.
Yeah, I had to go through a part of St. Catharines the other day. I had to drop some paperwork off at a particular location. I had to go through a part of St. Catharines the other day where it was that right time of day where all of the homeless were gathering, and you could see the junkies shooting up. It was a big shooting gallery to form a car park that now seems to be at a certain time of day full of homeless and junkies.
Well, that's what I mean. There's only so much tolerance we'll have for this.
Yeah.
But with Ken Todd's report, he's brought it all into one place, and all he has said, as far as I can't give it a complete report here because I didn't read it thoroughly and reread it.
Yeah, you didn't read 100% of it. I get you.
Yeah. So what it looks like to me, though, is just pretty much saying the same old things we've already known, and the same old ways in which we can fix it. I do not know if the collation of all that information and data will result in a real plan to eradicate the unhoused, or at least help them reintroduce themselves in society.
Yeah,
the other thing I do say, though, and as Paul and I did say, is that just about every community in North America, not just Ontario, but every community in North America is having this problem.
They are.
They're all
not
faced
just North
problem,
America.
And they are all faced with the same inability to deal with it.
Yeah. Not just North America, it's Europe-wide. It's actually spreading. I saw, and I should have actually, I saw a report on homelessness record highs somewhere in South America. I forget where. And that homelessness has been a constant there. But they're saying it's a record high now.
Well, it's record high here.
Yeah.
I've never seen, used to see the odd bum around, wino, a guy just wandering around, hard on his luck, giving up on the world. But that has changed. There are so many now.
Yeah, they're in the thousands, not ones or twos here and there. Yeah.
So Todd's given his report, and how effective that is going to be, meaning that will the report result in a positive action plan? When you think of all the people in all the towns of Ontario, and I doubt very much that we have a plan that is any better than anyone else's.
No.
But what can we do? There are the radical plans of just gathering them all up and putting them in a compound outside the city where they can get medical treatment, where they can get showers and whatever else, but try to keep them from wandering around and doing mischief in town. But that's the part they want to be. They want to be social. It's a very, very peculiar thing. They want to be social. They want to be among people, but they also cannot lift themselves out of their addictions and mental health problems. But they just don't do that on their own. They seem to crave the company of people.
But it all comes back to this one, Dave. Watch the screen.
Well, the first.
Right.
Yeah, that's the solution to everything.
Yeah. It's going to bring you jobs for the next 50 years to build a Ferris wheel. Nah.
Well, we can use the unhoused as slave labor, basically, make them put it all together.
Betty says it's coming. It's coming. Yeah.
The Ferris.
Okay. U.S. automakers are basically saying that Canada's EV deal threatens U.S. trade, all of U.S. trade.
I'm not so sure. The U.S. car makers are frightened because they are behind the times. Aside from Tesla, most of the car makers are behind the times. We do now have a lot of electric cars and hybrids. Hybrids are halfway there to electric cars, and they have big batteries and so on. So we have the hybrid cars, and we're shifting towards electrical cars. But the problem here is that we don't have enough, and the American car makers are frightened of this. Now, this is very, very challenging. Their points of view here is they've been going along with the U.S. administration and their tariffs, and they want to scoop as much of the manufacturing of cars as they can, and limit the amount of cars coming from Canada, or have components with Canada. And then they turn around and they say, "Oh, you can't have if you have electric cars, it's going to hurt the trade deal." Well, what trade deal? You are also endorsing reduction of auto parts built in Canada, and then you say, well, we don't want you to have EVs either. Well, what's it going to be? Are you going to endorse Canada's right to build parts of the car and keep in trade without tariffs, or are you going to say we can't do anything? We don't want to buy the cars you make, and we don't want you to bring EVs into North America. So what is it?
But again, one of the things that was also said is that okay, so there's okay. One of the questions that's also been said is that Carney has also apparently talked to the Chinese about, if you want to build more cars than that limited 49,000, you've got to be moving the manufacturing here locally.
Well, of course, the manufacturers here feel threat on that, and they did too when the Japanese started bringing their products here. And
there's nothing new in that.
Yeah,
nothing new in that.
The likelihood of the Chinese actually building a plant here and making Chinese cars with Canadian labor and parts, that's a long way off right now. But it is a possibility. So my question here is, why would that be bad for Canada if we were making American cars with Canadian labor and Canadian parts, aren't we? We're making Japanese cars, Toyotas and the Hondas, we're making them with Canadian labor and parts. So what's the difference if we make Chinese EVs with Canadian labor and parts?
Yeah,
they seem to be threatened by this, and they're trying to say that.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
But again, that is exactly the same pattern if you wind it back to the 60s and 70s, when Toyota and the other Japanese manufacturers were coming into the US and North America. The Americans were saying, yes, great, but we need jobs in North America.
Well, at that time, they didn't feel so threatened because they had complete dominance. And here is basically in the U.S. market, basically does not ship significantly outside its borders except to Mexico and Canada.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, we find that the Americans do not want our parts in their cars. Right, not their union and not their builders. They want to do all the building, all the parts themselves. So basically, they're asking, "We'll send you the cars, you buy them. But we don't want any component of the cars that we're sending you to be built in Canada or in Mexico."
Yeah.
If you take a Ford F-150, over 80% of it's already built in the United States, but they want that extra 20%, and that's what Lutnick is saying basically. he's the Commerce Secretary, and he says, we don't need anything you make. We can do all that ourselves. It'll cost us more, but we can cut you out of the whole operation, and that will save more jobs for the Americans. The automakers are not that enthusiastic about it because they've already set up this whole system that works very well, this cross-border manufacturing system.
Yeah, and that cross-border manufacturing system also guarantees cars into Mexico, cars into Canada that are made in the US without there being, we don't have to necessarily make the Model X that you want, that you desire here in Canada. It could be imported from the US. Well, with the new reality, that's less likely to happen.
The problem, as I see it, is they want everything, and don't bring any more EVs in because, well, that's a challenge to us. That's not going to be good. You're asking the Chinese to come in and break into our market, but at the same time, you don't want our parts, and you don't want our cars. That's what your political system is saying. We don't need anything from Canada to do with cars. We want all the jobs that the Canadians are now that are employing Canadians. We want them to be in. If the Canadians make an alternator, we want to make that alternator now. We don't want that alternator coming from Canada. We want to make the alternator. So what you want? Everything? You want all the production? You want us to buy your product without any Canadian content to it, and we don't want any Canadian content in any of your.
But and
then you go and say, hey, well, you're looking for another opportunity from another car manufacturer from China. We don't want you to utilize that.
Well, let me point out one aspect, of course, that has to be highlighted that Trump absolutely hates, right? Electric vehicles. He has no interest in anybody building electric vehicles. I know he was gifted one by what's his name, Musk, but he's got zero interest in electric vehicles. He's in the pocket of the gas lobby.
Well, that's part of it, and this is what they said. Like the electric car technology was all born in the United States, but they sold it off. They chose not to develop it because of the powerful interests of the cars, also of the oil industry and so on, but also for the fact even the unions could see that if you start making electric cars, there are less jobs because a combustion engine has a lot more parts to it.
Yeah.
And so basically, there was a lot of people against it. You saw all the resistance to electric cars 25 years ago and even earlier. And they had electric cars and electric and battery technology, and they sold it all off to China and other places. China developed it, China developed it, made it one heck of a good deal. And now they make an electric car that is now threatening the very country that started the electric car revolution, but chose not to carry on with it. The short-sightedness of American politics at the time, and the powerful gas and oil lobby. And of course, Trump does not want the electrical because China owns more of the goods, the parts, and the technology. So what he wants to do is he wants to encourage gas automobiles, drill baby drill, basically. And I think Elon Musk was very disappointed with a lot of his policies. But Trump himself will say, I want everybody to make their own choice, gas or electric. And he had claimed that because electric cars were getting you're getting rebates for getting an electric car, grants and so on. He wants to stop that so that combustion cars are on the same foot. But I don't know. It pretty much he is in the pocket of oil and gas. Of course, that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the electric vehicle has always been challenged under a Trump administration. I'm not saying, I do think, you see, usually when you bring on a new vehicle, it's always going to be, hey, you find a new way to build a mug, Dave, right? You find a new way to build a mug. It's going to be more expensive than the old way, right? The old style mug. It's got to be more expensive because you've got to pay for the research and development as the new user, right? This is what we're talking about. The new user of the new car, the EV, is paying for the research and development. And that will happen for 10 to 15 years, right? So we're not out of that yet. We're probably not going to be out of that until about 2035. So the prices won't be competitive to the gas car for quite some time.
Well, what you do now, Harry, is a lot of hybrids, which is half electric car.
Yes, yes.
So you're not jumping there. There's a lot of just electric cars out there, Teslas, et cetera, et cetera. So what you do have instead is a lot of hybrids, which is that jumping point where more and more of the cars will be more and more electric until most of them are electric. The biggest problem, of course, with electricity is where you're gonna charge your car up, because demand for electricity is going to be huge now.
Yeah.
But there's the other thing is, anyway, to get back to the source of the story, I don't think, and I never have thought, that 50,000 Chinese EVs are going to be any problem at all.
No.
For any auto industry. It's only 50,000. Exactly. There's a cap on it.
Yeah.
And there's a cap on that many cars. And believe me, we had to do it because otherwise we wouldn't be selling our canola oil.
Yeah.
So when Trudeau, now the problem is they want us to be 100% tariff on Chinese EVs, but that was a Biden policy. It wasn't a Trump policy. That was a Biden policy. It came in under him. And when Biden put the 100% duty on, or tariffs on Chinese EVs, that was trying to protect the EV industry in the United States, which had fallen way behind. So Canada dutifully, like Justin, did anything Biden did, he did, kind of. And so he did the same thing, which they didn't look at the problems that would cause. And of course, the Chinese say, okay, you want to put, you had 6% on our cars and you put it up to 100%. Well, we're going to do that with your canola oil. We had a 6% on your canola oil. Now we're going to put it up to 100%. How do you like that?
Well, one of the questions that Betty raised was actually one of the challenges with the EV is you get stuck in the snow. I'm not sure that it used to be a challenge. It's certainly something that I believe and I understand the EV manufacturers are working on, is actually making, there's an electric version of my car, and hey, I can stick mine on, I've got a special setting for snow, which causes it to rise up and drive straight over the top of the snow.
Well, yeah, but that's entirely different. This is an ordinary everyday car. So basically, I don't know, most of them are front wheel drives, I think, which would give them more advantage in the snow to begin with. They do have heavy batteries, which would give you enough weight for traction. I haven't heard of anybody getting a problem getting stuck in snow.
No, but there was an incident this winter of somebody who, when there was a whole load of cars stranded in the snow, the rescue, the police or whoever did the rescue, was coming around with gas for all the cars to allow them to get to the gas station. So give them a top up to get them going again, to get to the gas station when they got the highway free. But of course, the electric car there was left on the highway because you couldn't gas it up. You couldn't, but that'll change in a couple of years' time. Somebody will come up.
Well, they do. They have portable chargers.
Yeah,
there might not be that many around right now, but they do. Where if you do have, where you can phone them up and a charger will come. and top you up to the point where you can get to a charging station.
All you need is 50 kilometers of charge, and that's all they're giving you on the gas is 50 kilometers of gas, right?
Well, whatever. So that's a very isolated incident, and I would hardly think we would restrict EVs because of that one incident.
No, exactly. I agree with you. We would not. We would not.
I've got a friend with a second, he might be even on his third Tesla now, but he's on his second Tesla, and he lives in a very snowy part of the United States. He lives in New England, where there's lots and lots of snow. I've never heard him once complain, and he's got to go through a lot of windy roads in a sort of hilly country of New England, and I haven't heard anything from him about what it's like in the snow compared to, and he'd be a guy that'd be able to tell me that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, there's been one or two incidents. When they first brought out the electric car back in 2017, I believe, there was an incident of somebody getting killed on the snow in an electric car. But again, there's incidents every day in winter of people getting killed in gas cars on the snow, right?
Well, it's just not something that's going to stop anybody from buying.
Exactly. It's not. It wouldn't stop me from buying. Hey, you put winter tires on. Get over it. All right. Moving on. Sheinbaum is saying that Mexico and Canada have formed a common front on the CUSMA talks.
Yeah, Claudia Sheinbaum. I haven't really put much of a study to her or watched too many of the things. She gives me the general impression that she's really good at what she does.
Yes.
And she's and Canada and Mexico are trying to make as many connections as they can. Let's face it, neither one of us can make up for the trade we do with the United States. We are, both of us, poised in a very ideal position. The United States is the greatest generator of wealth ever known. It has an amazing production level. It has astonishing resilience, economic resilience, year after year, day after day, even no matter how much debt they're in or how much blundering they do. When the big stock market crashed in 2008, they lifted themselves out of that. That might have taken a country out for 20 years, but it didn't in the States. So the United States is an engine of wealth and prosperity, and we want to be part of that as best we can be. They just do have that ability. Part of it's just luck of geography. They're in that zone where they can grow a lot of food, do a lot of mining. That continental zone they have there, that they have waterways that are easily navigable. They got all kinds of advantages just by luck, and plus they have the time in which they became industrialized at that particular time, and they were able to take advantage of 2 world wars that wasted every other country but built them up stronger.
Yeah.
So that we want to be part of that. That's not going to change. They have an amazing economic engine between Mexico and the United States, and Mexico and Canada, and we both want in on it. But in the meantime, we can supplement our trade and help each other up in this particular challenging times.
Yeah.
So Canada and Mexico can kind of have a common front on CUSMA and see what we can do together to keep this going.
Yeah.
Donald Trump says he doesn't want to sign it. He doesn't think we don't need CUSMA anymore. But I will remind all of our listeners that both the Congress and the Senate both voted, symbolically so, but both voted to maintain CUSMA, to maintain the trade relations with Mexico. And another round of legislation went through and said we want to maintain our trading relationships with Canada, our free trade relationships. So if even in a Congress that is terrified of Trump and they'll come up and go against him, even a Senate that's terrified of Trump, they will stand up to them and say that the trade deals with Mexico and Canada are beneficial to this country. So, so we do have friends in Congress. We do have friends in American industries and so on.
Yeah.
It's nice though to have an ally in this, and this is where Sheinbaum kicks in.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Okay. One of the going back again on these things, electric vehicles. This whole question about electric vehicles, and just because the Chinese are going to be spying on us, I don't think there's any value in them spying on us.
I get there's this sort of conspiracy theory out there that Chinese cars is built with all kinds of hardware.
They may do that for their own population, but where's the advantage to doing that?
Well, we are being spied on by our own cars too, anyway, because the manufacturers, anything that they get, if your car transmits any kind of data, the car companies can pick it up and use it, whatever.
Yeah,
so you are being spied
on.
The car
companies can pick it up, but they can't if you're doing 150 down the 405, the car companies aren't going to transmit that to the cops. Look,
basically, yeah. So the very idea that there's this espionage going on, and the Chinese cars are actually spies, and they're listening every time you have a conversation. Just remember, you are not that important. Most of us who may buy a Chinese car or any car are not important enough to the espionage. Remember, if you are really worried about how many people are listening to you, what about the NSA? The NSA, I don't know if you remember all the problems the NSA had just a few years ago, that they were listening in on everybody's telephone conversations because they had the computer capacity to do it. So they were listening to anyone, and they were looking for key words. So if you happen to be on the phone and you said something about ISIS, it'll zoom in on that, that kind of thing. And that was the NSA. That's an American spy agency, So I don't think the Chinese are going to be too interested in spying on us.
Yeah.
And through electric vehicles.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, there are protocols in place that, for example, you raised the point about the vehicles. Every vehicle sends stuff back to the manufacturers. For example, they'll send stress data on engine parts back to the manufacturer. And a lot of this is actually about how they can tune their next generation engine up.
Yeah, they could. There was, your insurance company, you can get, if you get a certain device put in your car, you can get 10% reduction in your insurance fees. What it does is it monitors everything you do.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want the 10% reduction. It just gives me the creeps. Normally, I would go.
But again, if you've got one of those. But again, if you've got one of those insurance devices in your car, and you flew for 200 kilometers an hour down the QEW, they're not going to report you to the police.
No, they're not. But it's going to affect your insurance.
Absolutely.
And the data, and the data they collect, you don't know where they're giving that data to or who they're selling that data to. They'll say, okay, Peter Giblett, he's kind of a lead foot in certain areas. It does look, by the way he's driving, that he's had a few drinks after work every day, that kind of thing. These are indications of that. So they could sell that information. Who knows to who? I doubt if the electric EVs coming from China will be doing anything like that. But the companies aren't doing that, I don't think. Yeah. But the fact that if you're worried about espionage, people looking at you, and you're not getting away with it now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right. A quick note. Chateau de Charme winemaker is actually moving. It's Emilie Bourry is leaving Chateau de Charme and returning to France pursue new career opportunities in the wine industry. So we're losing a winemaker at one of Niagara's principal wineries as she returns to France.
Yes. Now she had a mentor that was here, and I think that has part of it. So she was mentored by the guy who ran Chateau de Charmes. They went to the same school or studied the same place for wine. They've brought a lot of interesting type of French wine techniques into the Niagara region. Now, the Paul Bosque Sr. hired her. He was the guy that was sort of her mentor, but he died. He died in 2023, and the winery is being sold. So I think she doesn't feel like she has the home that she used to have, and there's an opportunity for her to go back home. So her mentor, it's pretty hard when you have a mentor and you're in the same vein and you're doing the same kind of work, and you're going to get a lot of satisfaction everything you do, because you have double impulse. You have your own and your mentor, and you have a drive to improve and to create things. Yeah. I think part of the reason why she's leaving is because that's no longer there.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, actually that has a personal impact upon you. And, anybody who's been through that situation will understand exactly that. The mentor's gone, time to move on to a new life.
Someone said they won't have an EV. Who's that? I just saw that flash in the comment.
No EV from me.
Oh, it's too bad, Rick. You know what? You can see the for sale sign on a Tesla at the White House. You can probably get it cheap.
Yeah, offering $50 for it, and it will go.
Yeah.
There was an ad I once saw, by the way, for a Rolls Royce for £100, and it's like the Rolls Royce, the typical price for the Rolls Royce back at that time was £200,000. So the TV looked into it, and it turned out this woman was actually selling it because she was divorcing her husband.
Rick's on his way to the White House now. I can tell.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Okay. So that's basically it for us today.
Yes, and as always, I will bring up Gaza, and don't forget Gaza. Don't forget Lebanon. It's been very, very difficult for Trump to rein in Netanyahu. They're beginning argument. No president in the history of the United States has done more to accommodate Israel than has Donald J. Trump in his first and his second term. It's going to be very hard for him to reverse that. They're trying to remind they want them to stop that goofiness that's happening in southern Lebanon and pushing all the people out of their 1.1 million people shoved off the small piece of area. Those people don't have homes anymore. They're now refugees in the northern part of the country. And Trump's just getting fed up with it. And Bibi's just doing what he wants to do. It's very, very hard for anyone to get them to behave themselves. But the image of Israel is becoming very, very hard to sustain. There's a politician, I forget her name, in the United States right now. She's trying to pretend she doesn't have AIPAC funding coming in. She has a wife that's a Jewish, so it's a gay couple, but she has a wife that's Jewish, which is one thing. But she also has a lot of money she claims she's not getting any money from AIPAC anymore, not getting anything from the Israeli lobby, but it is just they just name it something different, and that money is still coming from the Israeli lobby. So we're going to get into that if you're a politician now and you take money from the Israeli lobby, that's not a good thing for you anymore in a lot of areas. Whereas a guy like Joe Biden took millions of dollars from the Israeli lobby. If he was to be running right now, that would kill his chances if he kept doing that. So there's a big change out there. People don't like the power that Israel has over the American politicians. And we'll see what happens going forward. But Trump has really got to put Netanyahu in line so he can get this peace deal going, which is not happening very well at this point.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, maybe he can stop them from the terrible things they've been doing in Gaza and continue to do in Gaza.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Dave?
Without further ado, I bid you adieu. Pray for peace.